Today we are going to make some tortellinis. We are going to start with a very simple dough recipe that I've only done a couple of times. So we're going to see how it goes when I double the recipe. I'm going to need a lot of tortellinis. I'm going to make a side dish. So I'm going to need quite a bit, and then when I'm done with my tortellinis, I want to make a sausage kind of side dish with them. So we're gonna have some fun making our dough this morning, and then on to bigger and better things. Until then, what we want to do here is I've doubled my recipe. So I've used 4 cups of flour, very simple. And for every 2 cups of flour, you want 3 eggs in the middle of your nest. I am really hoping I made a nest big enough for 6 eggs. And we're gonna find out. Not 100% certain. Does anyone else leave their eggshells in the container? I'm super guilty of that. But it's really easy to do in my house because I'm the only one that ever eats the eggs. So no one will ever know. Okay, just one more egg. It looks like my nest was big enough. Hopefully it doesn't tumble over on me. I have a couple more things I like to add. They are not necessary for you to have to add them. A lot of people use their salt in their water, which is fine. I do like to put a pinch of salt, literally just a pinch of salt, into my dough, and about a tablespoon for this doubled recipe of olive oil. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a fork really quickly, mix it together. This will help kind of get your dough where it needs to be if you kind of scramble your eggs into the center here and get it started for yourself. I feel like I'm doing a really good job considering I've only done this a couple of times. I am very excited about homemade pasta. I haven't bought any pasta in a few weeks now. Just making my own. You can dry it. It will end up, not tortellinis obviously, but if you're making regular pasta with this recipe, you can dry them and then they will last for about 5 or 6 months. You can make your raviolis or your tortellinis with these recipes, and then they're going to last a couple days in the fridge before you make them, or you can freeze them in a vacuum sealed bag and make them last a whole month. So there's so many things that you can do once you have mastered the art of making the dough. The dough is so versatile. I mean, you can start adding things. Eventually I want to be able to make like a spinach pasta. I want to be able to do all kinds of stuff so that we can stay away from all of the processed deliciousness at the grocery store. Now, I found since making my own pasta, this is a hot mess. Sorry about that. These are a lot more eggs than I'm used to using. But hey, it's all coming together. I have found that the taste is completely different when you make a homemade noodle. I mean, they just seem so bland to go back to grabbing the 90-cent box off the pasta shelf at your local grocery store. But this might take a little more time, but it is so worth it. It is worth it. It's going to be not processed. It's so fresh. You only have to boil it a couple of minutes. It is so worth it. So what I'm doing here, other than making a ginormous mess on my table, is I am just kneading the dough. My least favorite part is getting all this deliciousness all over my hands. I don't like that part at all. But again, it will be worth it. So this will take about 8 to 10 minutes. We're just going to knead this dough together. It's gonna seem so dry. If you notice, it just looks like it's kind of falling apart in my hands. That is normal. It will come together. The kneading process is literally where the magic happens. So I know some of you might be using a mixer. I commend you. I I do not have that option, but I have had luck so far doing it by hand. So I'm gonna keep doing it that way until someone buys me a KitchenAid mixer. I would be fine with that. So we're just gonna keep going and going and going. Does anyone have their favorite type of pasta that you want to learn how to make? I want some ideas. I want to be able to do this again and do something different. I've never made tortellini, so this will be my first time. Hopefully I don't make any mistakes so that we can learn the proper way to do it, or at least mostly so. But in the end, I just want a good tortellini that tastes delicious and will impress my guests. Starting to get a little bit tired of kneading this dough, so like I said, if anyone has a KitchenAid mixer sitting around, it might be worth it to use that instead. But either way, it will come out delicious. You see how I'm having a lot of flour and just kind of dry bits coming off. That's totally normal. It happened to me the last few times I've made the pasta. It will come together. It's getting softer. I don't know if you can tell this by the video, but it is coming together. It is getting a lot softer. There's less and less of this dough shrapnel, I would call it, floating around. So just gonna keep going. Eventually this will become very smooth, which will make it very easy to go through the pasta machine. And before I purchased my pasta machine, I did a little bit of research, and some people prefer to have the crank one. Honestly, it comes out to about the same if you buy the crank one and all of the attachments and stuff that go with it, or you just buy an electric one. It's really not, from what I saw shopping, it's not a huge difference as far as price goes. You're going to spend a little bit of money either way. So I went with the crank one because it seemed like people enjoyed having a little bit more control. They don't have to worry about the machine jamming nearly as much. It's pretty easy to troubleshoot versus a machine that might let you down. But if you prefer the machine, tell me why I should buy one. Because, like I said, I am not super experienced. But I feel like over time, you might not know after a while that I'm pretty new at this. So let's see what happens. We are almost done with our dough. It's starting to form a ball, which I'm really appreciating. And so are my biceps. I'm getting quite tired. But we're almost done here. When we are done, we need to let our dough sit for about 30 minutes in plastic wrap, also room temperature. When we're done folding our dough into a ball is also the time that you want to wrap it up and vacuum seal it. If you, my baby just woke up, I'm gonna have to go get her in just a moment. But this is a good stopping point because if you are freezing your dough and saving it for later, now is the time. I am back, and what we have with our big dough ball is 4 smaller balls of dough. These are gonna sit in plastic wrap for about 30 minutes and then they're ready to use. If you wanna wrap it and put it in the freezer, that's fine. You can leave it in the freezer for about a month and just make sure it's room temperature before you try to use it. If you put it in the fridge, you can use it for up to 2 days. So if you're not ready to make pasta right now, that is totally fine. You have your dough, it's ready to go. Sometimes it's a task trying to make time, as you just saw. This is probably the only time I'm going to get today to make this pasta. So I'm probably gonna end up putting it in the fridge, saving it for another time, maybe tomorrow's nap time, and making those tortellinis that I'm super excited to make for the first time. So again, I hope you guys had fun. I am not like super experienced with this, so I'm doing my best to just show you what I've learned, and what I've learned so far is that homemade pasta is super simple and worth the little bit of time that it does take. to put it together, and it's just so delicious, and I feel very accomplished every time that I make something new, especially homemade. I have a history in baking, so cooking is kind of like my backseat thing, but I feel like we've done a really good job today. So I hope you guys had fun with me. I hope I taught you something. If you can teach me something, I'm open to whatever comments you guys have. I know that you can't please everyone, so if you have a negative comment, I probably won't even read it, but it's okay. If you liked it, please subscribe. I had a lot of fun today. Bye.